money isn't just someone with a big bank account and an impulse to spend money lavishly. It's someone who typically is smart enough to get themselves into a position where they can spend millions without batting an eyelid. So when I use the term big money in this case, I'm referring to smart money, or what we often call in crypto as whales. Now, these people tend to have a very good idea of when and where the next big pump is going to happen, which ultimately is usually just because they have insider knowledge. But there is actually a whole entire industry in crypto dedicated to finding the big money wallets, where people track what altcoins are being bought, buy them too, and then ride that money printing wave with those big boys. So the main goal of this video is to locate the altcoins big money is buying before 2024 and get in on the action over the next 6 months. So most importantly, buckle your seatbelt because things are gonna get crazy. Now, before we get into the video, do not forget, if you enjoy the content or find what I say helpful in any way and wanted to say a big thank you, make sure you hit the like button and subscribe for more daily crypto alpha. So before we dive into the altcoins, and I'm going to give you all the fundamental reasons why I think they'll do really well in the upcoming 6 to 12 months here, why I think the whales are buying them in the first place with price predictions, I want to take you through why I think whales are even buying altcoins to begin with here. Now, we're going to start off with a very familiar face, the path to alt season. How many damn times have we seen this thing? I wanted to point it out for those of you who don't know about it by now. So we typically in crypto have this, I guess, typical phase where we go from money going into Bitcoin, then into Ethereum, then into large caps, and then into alt season. And I believe we're in some sort of phase between Ethereum and large caps right now. And with the upcoming events happening very soon, which is of course the Bitcoin ETFs being possibly approved early next year, as well as the Bitcoin halving, we do have possibly a more opportunity here to get into some of these altcoins, right? I believe an alt season will happen sometime around the first quarter, bare minimum, first half of next year, giving these fantastic opportunities to get in. Let's now begin over here with the total supply held by long-term Bitcoin holders. These are the people holding Bitcoin for 155 days or more. And what I've noticed here is they have begun selling off as of the 1st of December. Interesting, right? They are selling off, I believe, in anticipation here for the Bitcoin ETFs to be proposed and a sell-off to ensue. Now, we could already be in a sort of sell-off right now. We're at $41,000 for Bitcoin. Greed has fallen almost about 10 points in this case. So it really wouldn't surprise me if this plays out even more severely in the next month or so. Every time we basically had the Bitcoin price eclipse the holders here, we've seen the price basically fall on Bitcoin soon after. So this is one to look out for. We've also seen the number of addresses with a balance of more than 1,000 Bitcoin since the last 12 months holds very steadily. So these guys aren't buying any more Bitcoin just yet. They are holding for, I believe, much higher prices. Now we also have this chart here, which shows us a few things, probably too much to go over in this video, but we can clearly see right now the moving averages indicate to us that we are in an uptrend. We are officially in a bull run. For those who don't know, I strongly do believe we are. I think we are due for a correction here, as we have seen historically speaking from this point. So hold your butts, hold your horses, and get ready for some good buys, which I think I've picked out today. These are some amazing altcoins, again, with price predictions, the whole thing, okay? So it can be very confusing coming over to crypto, because especially as someone who is new, you're thinking to yourself, what do I buy, right? What are the big boys buying? What are they holding off on? And how do I make money? Again, it's a very confusing thing. I hopefully will be able to answer some of those questions for you directly with the altcoins, but also inadvertently, right? It's always good noting what's good about one project and how you can apply it to your research. So the first altcoin we have on today's list is Flux Network. Now, Flux is a very good project because it hits so many very big narratives. It hits AI, just like Render Network. It also hits interoperability, right? It hits connecting other networks together. It's got amazing use cases in terms of storage, and the list goes on. Basically, what Flux is decentralized cloud computing. It's the same as Amazon Web Service, Google Cloud, Apple Cloud, Microsoft Azure. It's all those things, but decentralized. And we'll have a look at some of their partners in a minute here. It's going to blow your mind if you haven't heard about them. Very small project. They are a small cap at $212 million. And my price prediction for these guys is up at about $12. do believe $12. That's about a 19x from the current price, which is going to be at about a $4 billion market cap. So a very small market cap. Keep in mind, Render, one of the bigger competitors to Flux in this case, has a market cap currently of just under 2 billion. So, I believe Render will go up there in the 20, 30, 40 billions maybe. So this is not out of the blue at all for Flux. It's just a smaller project right now. So in the last 12 months, I believe a much better price if you could have bought Flux at would be 40 cents. But just remember, again, I think we will have a bit of a retracement happening here soon, thanks to a few of these events. So hold your horses if you are someone looking for maybe that 20, 25x, because if we fall down to 40 cents again, which is about a 20-cent drop from here, that'll put you at about a 30x. So much better for those of you looking for some of those higher multiples. Now, as I said, Flux is in some pretty big narratives. Most importantly, it's in the narrative of AI. It can do decentralized computing. Render kind of stops at graphics cards. These guys do everything, okay? They can literally run nodes on their infrastructure. AI has been the best performing narrative so far of this bull run, so I think we're gonna have a lot of money flow in and around Flux, and we're gonna have a look now to see whether it can actually attract that money. I believe it will. So Flux has a beautiful designed website, and this is important, believe it or not, for assessing whether the project's a viable buy, because this is what degens look for in a quality project. We have some pretty interesting stuff here. They have 12,000 nodes, okay? They have 91,000 cores, 241 terabytes of RAM, and 6.7 petabytes of SSD. The list goes on. They classify themselves as true Web3, and you're gonna see why in just a second. As we can see here, part of their storage solution, yes, you can, have storage on Flux's cloud. 10 gigabytes here is only 50 cents a month. 50 is $2.50 a month, and 100 gigabytes of storage is $5 a month. This includes Web3 infrastructure, so if you're a developer, you can store things on here. Decentralized storage, global distribution, unlimited bandwidth. But it gets better. They have actually integrated with WordPress. You can run your damn WordPress website. I'm looking at doing this, to be honest with you, for my website, completely on Flux. For $2.75 for bloggers, small businesses, and startups, you can run a very high performance backend completely on Flux, okay? The future payment option will come with fiat on-ramp as well, and also payment in Flux tokens. The upside here is amazing, especially when they unlock that for Flux tokens itself. We're talking about massive demand. They're also partnered with NVIDIA, and they're in their Inception program, which enables them to have access to the NVIDIA team and all their sort of networking events, as you can see here, as well as their experts. So what this enables, and what people typically forget in crypto, is it's very important about connections. It's not always what you know in terms of how good your technology is. It's also who you know, who your connections are, and if they can speed up the process to adoption. And NVIDIA, I think, guys, is one of the best in terms of AI in the business, right? These guys, I think, grew like 300% from the AI narrative just this year alone. They're also connected to OVH Cloud. OVH Cloud is Europe's largest cloud infrastructure project, and a whole bunch more. Lumen Technologies, the list goes on. They are literally doing all the right things. It kind of blows my mind that they're so undervalued. And if you watch my price prediction videos, you have seen consistently I put Flux at a 50x. So these guys, again, the world's first true decentralized cloud, offering everything possibly a cloud like Google Cloud, Apple Cloud does as well. They're in over 78 countries. They have almost a 100% guaranteed uptime. I don't think anything is 100% guaranteed. And again, over 12,000 nodes. They've also got payments with Visa, MasterCard, American Express, and this is their ecosystem map if it loads. Thank you very much. So you can have a look at sort of what they integrate with here. They're with Docker. They're with Daemon. They have all these integrations with these multiple blockchains. So you can actually receive rewards in other assets by running a node on Flux. There's so many intricacies to this project you wouldn't know unless you actually was more interconnected with it. Lots to talk about, but one of these really big, side pieces is their Zelcore wallet. Zelcore wallet is one of the very best wallets, if not arguably the best wallet in the entire crypto space, but people just don't know about it. They have biometric locks. They have over 1,000 tokens. Over 70 blockchains are connected, and of course, all the tokens on those blockchains. Again, end-to-end encryption, basically. Buy and sell with cards, very low interest rates, okay? 1,200 market pairs. It just goes on. And they're also completely carbon neutral. They're a proof of work network that is extremely fair, right? It has halving every 2.5 years. It's like you can't have a situation with Bitcoin where there's a certain hash rate increase where it becomes difficult for the network to run GPUs, and you have to go to specialized hardware like ASICs with Bitcoin, which causes centralization. it's amazing, right? And even the mining, right? The proof of work, any of the leftover computations that typically is wasted, that is then reutilized again for people like scientists to use for rendering. So I believe these guys again have a really good opportunity here coming into 2024, and I think any whale would be absolutely stoked to have this in their portfolio, which is why, again, I think that talking about the altcoin season chart here, this would truly be one we see in the mid cap / small caps taking off in 2024. Project number 2 is Near Protocol. I get it, right? I was talking about Near when it was damn 95 cents. It's at $3.61. It was actually a little bit more recently. It was up to like, what, $4.50, just insane. But I'm telling you about Near because, again, when we have this crash, you're going to be able to get into this project ideally at a much better time. I'll talk more about what Near Protocol is for those who don't know in a second here. Either way, at the current price, my price prediction stipulates that you will still get just under a 10x from the current price, but I believe a far better price in this case is $2.50. Far from the price I want at $1.50, I don't think it'll go back down to that price again. $2.50 is a very strong level of support for Near Protocol. So if you can, right, if we do fall to this level, you will be able to get, roughly speaking here, about a 13, 14x out of the project, which is still very good for those of you who don't want to take more risk on board with a project like Flux. Now, Near has been on a massive tear. As I said, it was like at just under $1 a few months ago. Now it's at over $3. And so, of course, the market dominance will increase as well. Now, I don't want to touch too much on this because I do in other videos as well, but I want to use the average it gained from the last cycle. It went from around the time of the halving at 0.026%. It basically 24x to 0.6%. Done the math right here, which means I think from the dominance we'll find Near Protocol at the time of the Bitcoin halving in the next 4 months will probably 10x. So it wouldn't surprise me again if we see Near Protocol at $35 even more, because as I said, there are some big updates. First of all, the difference between back then and now is Near Protocol has actually got a reason to be Near Protocol. It is now operating the blockchain operating system, which is basically a universal system in which all of crypto is connected in one place, where people from Web 2, traditional people, can come in and access all these different features in a very centralized, simplistic way. And when I say centralized, I don't mean in the sense of less nodes. I mean a very centralized as in one single place. Now, again, blockchain operating system will run everything underneath it in any cryptocurrency, right? So Near's got a very highly interconnected network system as well. Hence why I think a $50 billion market cap is very achievable in this case, putting it actually above a $35 price tag. We again also have its sharding approach. This is what makes it highly scalable network and a competitor to other layer ones, maybe even better than other layer ones itself. So you can't quite see very well here, but the sharding approach itself is actually being implemented in Q4 of 2024, which I don't want to surprise you here, but likely will be when the bull run really is picking up hyperspeed. So perfect timing for this. Wouldn't surprise me if it even got delayed until, first, second quarter of 2025, which will give Near Protocol even more of a boost. We also have the fact that Near Protocol burns 70% of every transaction. One of the best network economic models in my opinion, especially for attracting degens. They have a 5% inflation rate year on year, which will compound, of course. However, 70% every transaction burned. They did the math. They'll have to have about 1 billion transactions in a day, which is about 11,000 TPS sustained, to actually be deflationary. Now, their plan is to bring on 1 billion users into Web3 through the boss. So I believe it could most definitely happen. That's why I'm strongly bullish on Near Protocol and why I think whales are catching on to it now. So again, look out for that level of around $2.50. And last, we have a layer 2 solution, in this case, Optimism. Now, guys, yes, I get it. Optimism's up there with Near Protocol as well. Kyron, you're talking about large caps. We want micro caps. Okay, well, I want safe, guaranteed returns, don't you? Especially, again, if we have a crash here soon. You don't just have to look day to day, guys, in crypto. You have to look ahead, a few months, maybe a half a year ahead, to find the altcoins, find the right prices, and then execute when those prices are met. Now, here's what I'm expecting. A 5x or 5.5x, at least from today's current price, to my goal of about $20. That'd be about a $40 billion market cap over here for Optimism, given all those tokens are in supply. However, I would wait in this case for a $2.05 level to start buying, in my opinion. Of course, not financial advice. This is where I think we can actually realistically fall down to if we do have this correction. That'd be a 10x. So again, much more achievable, and I think the $20 price tag in this, in my opinion, is actually an understatement. I do strongly think that Optimism can go a lot higher, and here's some of the reasons why. They have their superchain system, which is a way very similar to Cosmos, in my opinion, that they connect multiple layer 2s together into a single superchain that's very highly connected and interoperable with each other. There is a bit to talk about here because this is very bullish, as you'll see in a minute. The superchain is a horizontally scalable network of many chains that share the security of Ethereum, a communication layer, and an open source development stack. The superchain will be built on the cutting edge OP stack codebase, a modular development stack which sets the bar for a decentralized infrastructure. The OP stack is a fully open source public good. Revenues generated by the OP mainnet and eventually the superchain are used to fund the public goods which enable it. So again, let me just reiterate here. The way Optimism is working is they're going to have a single superchain which eventually will become Optimism, in which runs other layer 2s. So they're a layer 2 on Ethereum. They're running layer 2s themselves that again interact via Optimism together. Again, it's like Cosmos, but the beauty of it is they all leverage the highly secure nature of Ethereum. Ethereum is highly secure, very slow. Optimism is very fast and leverages the security of Ethereum. Now, one thing that surprised me is they're migrating in this case. Optimism mainnet isn't going anywhere, and for now, it's business as usual. In the long run, we envision it as an important coordination hub, one of the most critical pieces of the superchain. They're looking to become the coordination hub. They're looking to just simply coordinate all the transactions for whatever builds underneath it. Here is a better visual. Ethereum, Optimism will eventually be just the Optimism bridge, and we'll have all these chains underneath it. Now, we already have chains building on the superchain. One of those is Base. Base is part of the superchain itself. It is built upon Optimism's technology stack, as you can see down here, and they are again part of this whole entire ecosystem. So the Optimism token itself is interesting, right? Because you don't actually need the OP token to transact on the network like you do with Matic, but they do need the Optimism token itself for governance. Anything that happens on this superchain must happen in terms of governance with the OP token, which effectively gives it a whole heap more of demand, because it's not just governance for one network, it's governance for a whole bunch of networks within the superchain itself. So touching more on Base here, they say Base will commit a portion of transaction fee revenue back to Optimism Collective Treasury, furthering the vision for a sustainable future where impact equals profit. In the near term, this collaboration strives to upgrade OP mainnet, Base, and other layer 2s into a superchain structure. So part of the revenue is coming back to Optimism to allow Optimism to incentivize more people to build in the superchain structure. It's a no-brainer, guys. It's a no-brainer. Here's some amazing stats that have come out of Optimism over the last few months here. All-time USD saved in terms of fees, $5.5 billion worth of ETH has been saved. 186 million all-time transactions. Now, for a very new network, that is quite impressive when you think about, again, how new it is. Let's now compare the layer 2 chains, and as we can see by this chart, Optimism is by far outpacing the competition. We can see Matic here with the candlestick chart, and in blue, Arbitrum. It's destroying them, almost 300% up since the start of the year, whereas these two guys are fighting over 10 to 25%. So it is an absolute blowout. Now, in terms of the total value locked, if we zoom into the last 12 months or so, we can see Arbitrum is taking the lead by over 2x, but recently Optimism has outpaced Polygon to take the number 2 spot in terms of total value locks. Now we can see here the unique address chart. We're going to have a look at this versus the other two networks as well. 89 million unique addresses and a massive spike ever since about September. So we went from 10 million in mid-September to 2.5 or so months later at 90 million. Now, Arbitrum is worlds behind only right now at 15, 16 million. And unfortunately for Optimism over here, Matic just absolutely dominates. They have been out for a lot longer, of course, but 400 million unique distinct addresses is an absolute blowout. But again, remember the fast pace that we are growing here with Optimism. So the sky is the limit. I'm still very bullish on all three of these networks, but I believe Optimism definitely has a very bullish future indeed. And I wanted to point out, Optimism is the only network, I believe, layer 2 right now that hasn't gone down besides Base. So ZK Sync Another layer 2 solution on Ethereum went down for 5 hours on Christmas, and Polygon went down earlier in the year for about 11 hours, and we also saw Arbitrum recently go down as well for only about an hour and a half. So they've all been down. Optimism is still pushing forward, which is why I think we're going to find a lot of networks like Base wanting to actually be a part of the super chain itself. So again, very bullish. Wait for these possible price reductions here to happen, and keep an eye out for the $2 level. Basically, I think it's going to be a very good time to buy. Now, with that being said, everyone, thank you so much for watching this video. I really appreciate you making it all the way through, and if you have, drop me a like for all the work I have put in and for just saying a big thank you. With that being said, talk to you all soon. Take good care.